I'm Nikki and welcome to the Preppy Possum. Today I'm going to lead you step by step through a painting. All right, let's paint some hydrangeas, my favorite flower. So let's go ahead and start by grabbing like a number 6 or 8, something like that. And dry it off on the paper towel, and let's grab a little bit of like a medium green, kind of like a Kelly green or something. And we're just gonna hop in from the bottom left-hand corner, at least 5 or 6 inches. And I'm gonna throw a little line that goes straight up for a couple inches. So just about 4 or so. And then once you started with that line going straight up, then do a little whoop, kind of like the left-hand side of a rainbow. Kind of curve it in, like the top of a jar. And then we'll go ahead and right on top of our little whoop, we're gonna do a bumpy little line. You're just kind of trying to do the impression of the threads. And then once you have your bumpy line, then we're gonna throw a droopy little line that goes all the way from the threads to the edge. So you want it to droop just a little bit. And we can go ahead just to kind of make it look more like a jar. You can go ahead and do a little line that parallels that one. All right, so now we have the start of our jar. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off and rinse it out and dry it off. So we'll still use like the same size brush and dry it off. And I'm gonna grab some dark pinks, like a magenta, really dark pink. So grab that dark pink and then we'll skip up just a smidge from the top of our jar. So just at least like an inch or so. And we're gonna throw a big bumpy circle. So you wanna go big, don't be scared. And then once you have a big circle up there, so huge, like cantaloupe size, then let's skip over here to the right-hand side and just kind of like near that edge of your jar. And we're gonna throw and then go ahead and like maybe right in the middle, we'll throw another one like in between there. But skip up a little bit from the bottom just so they kind of hit at different heights. I would make this one hit a little bit higher up. But still like keep them big. These are big expensive blooms. And then now we have 3. I would throw like a part of one up here in the corner. So just like you're going around the bottom left-hand side of a ball. And then I would maybe do the same thing up here, just right above there. It can kind of touch those two, just right up there on the edge. And then once you have the start to your flowers, just grab a bunch of that dark pink, and we're just gonna fill it all in. So don't worry about like which direction or anything like that, because we'll come back and bump a lot of paint in there, so it won't matter. And if you wanted to do like blue hydrangeas or something like that, you could always just, you can do the same thing I'm doing, just to use like variations of blue instead of variations of pink. Use like, get you a little bit of like turquoise blue and royal blue and then some lighter blues. All right. So we have the start of our pink ones. So now while we have that, let's go ahead and grab a little bit of medium and light pink just while we have that brush. And now I'm just going to throw a little bit of light through like one side of all of my flowers. So I'm going to grab the lighter pinks on the same brush and use a lot of paint. You can see how I have a bunch, and I'm just going to dab. So you don't want to stab it straight on. You're just kind of dabbing it with the side. And I'm going to throw it like all through like the top edge of this one. And then maybe I'll throw it through like the bottom of the center one. You don't want to do it like all over, you just kind of want to do it through one edge. It's going to kind of help them look more round. All right, so we have us a few light ones going on because we'll come back and throw a bunch more. But just while we had that on our brush. And then go ahead and wipe off your extra. So you don't have to rinse it out, just kind of wipe it off. And let's grab some dark green. And now I'm just going to skip to the inside lip of my jar, so right inside the threads at the top. And I'm going to throw like a little whoop, just like a little right hand side of a rainbow to kind of connect it to the flower. And then I'm just going to fill in all to the right of that. And don't worry about like, you know, which way your brush strokes go, because we're going to come back and kind of throw some stems in there. So just grab a bunch and go for it. Get kind of like all the big parts first, and then we'll get right up next to our flowers. So whenever you're getting up next to it, you can just kind of bump into the edge, kind of just like we did before, just kind of wiggle your brush a little bit. And then do the same thing like up here just in between where your blooms are. And don't worry if you're eating away at your pink, because we'll come back and bump over it anyway. But just in those little spaces that you have. All right, so we got the start of our green part there. While we have that brush, let's go ahead and throw a couple leaves on there. While we have that brush in dark green. So I'm going to throw maybe like a leaf over here. And you just want to start a little bit bigger towards your flower, and then it gets smaller as you head away from it. But don't worry if you go large and in charge, because when you do your background, you can always trim it up. And then we'll just fill in to the flower. And let's do like something similar up here at the top. So we have that. Now you could use the same brush or a bigger brush, and I would grab more of that like Kelly green again. And now we're gonna fill in our whole jar. So it's gonna be like our big glass ball jar. And I love green ones. The old blue and the old green. But just kind of use that Kelly color with some other ones, because we'll come back and streak it up more to look like glass later. We're just trying to get a little layer of paint on there. And then we'll do the same thing like through the bottom. You just want to fill it all in with a layer of green. So just any which way, I'll just kind of grab a bunch and go for it. Now we have a layer through our jar, so let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. All right, so now that we got our jar just a little bit more dry, let's go ahead and grab a humongous brush, so like a 1 inch, and dry it off. And we'll grab, you can do like whatever color background, but I'm gonna do kind of like a bluish green. So some sea foam with some pool blue. And I'm just gonna get like all the big parts first, just to give my jar and my flowers another second to dry. But now that I kind of have most of the big areas, then let's just wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a little bit smaller size brush. It's like a number 6 or something, and dry it off, and we'll grab some more of that same color. And now you want to get like all the way up next to everything. So we'll get up next to the threads of our jar, next to the jar. This is where if your like leaves of your hydrangea got a little bit big, you can kind of trim them up a little bit. And then I'm just going to bump into the edge of the flower too, so into the edge of the bloom. All right, so now we have our background, so let's just wipe that one off a little bit. You can still have a little blue in there. And let's grab a little bit of lighter shades of green. It's like some chartreuse, some slimy limey. And we're gonna hop up to the top, and we're just gonna do a few little droopy lines just to kind of add some highlights to the threads. So you just want to let it droop just a little bit, just to throw some light in there. We'll come back and throw more darks too. And then while you have the lights on your brush, let's go ahead and throw like a little bit of light. It's like some light green over here through the top left of our jar. And then keep the lights on your brush and skip up here like underneath your flowers. So skip like right underneath the flowers, and we'll throw like kind of the impressionist stems. So you just want to do, like have some that curve different directions just so they're not all the same. Maybe even grab a little bit more dark green too. You can throw that in a few of them. You can throw a few dark green little parts of stems. All right, let's go ahead and while we have the dark green, let's throw like a little leaf coming over the edge too. So a little bit of dark green, and you can even have just a tiny bit of black with it. And then while we have the dark, let's go ahead and throw like a few dark glares through the top of the jar. So you just want those to kind of droop, just like the top of the jar does. Just kind of parallels it. And then keep the dark green, and let's go ahead and thicken up our leaves too while we have it on our brush. Thicken up our little pieces too. Alright. Then we'll just wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a big brush again, so like a 1 inch, and dry it off. And let's grab some more of the, like the Kelly green. You can have some dark and light on it, but mainly that Kelly. And we'll just kind of thicken up the rest of our jar down below where we hadn't hit, just because that's going to make it easier to blend and add some lights and darks to it if we go ahead and thicken it all up. And for this part, you don't have to worry probably like which way your brush strokes go, because once you get this second layer of paint, it should probably be good and smooth. You won't see as many of the streaks in it. All right. So we got the bottom part kind of thickened up. Let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. All right, let's get these flowers looking better. So let's grab a pretty big, good size brush, since they're good size blooms. It's like a number 8, so number 6, number 8, something like that. And let's start with the lights, just because I think it's pretty dry now. So we're gonna grab some really light pink, maybe even a tiny bit of white. And just kind of where we had the lights before, we're gonna bump a few more lights in there. But you don't want to like cover up all those ones that we did before. It looks good to kind of see all the colors. Just through like one side of all the blooms. So everywhere where we had the light before, we're just adding a little bit more. All right, now we're gonna grab, still like, don't wipe out your brush, but grab like a little bit of a medium pink. It's like more like a bubblegum pink with the light pink. And we're just gonna kind of overlap in a few places where we threw the lights, but you can even bring these down like towards the middle of all the blooms. So kind of through the middle, but you want a few to go into the really light. And just remember to load your brush with a lot of paint and then just be really light with it. So you don't want to stab it, just kind of dab it on there. All right, now let's grab that bubblegum medium pink with some dark pink. And we're gonna throw some of that, just kind of overlap where we just did it. Now we got some of that going on. Now let's grab the dark pink with even a little bit of purple. So kind of like dark pink with some darker purples. And we're gonna throw that through the far side. So away from the light, because you wanna have like a dark side and a light side. But you just don't want it to be like perfectly divided. So we'll come back and make it a little bit messier. This is where if you're kind of a perfectionist or something, you might want to close one eye just so you don't get it too perfect. Ooh, I might go a little too purple there. Even though sometimes that's how hydrangeas can have a little bit of all the colors. I got it too dark up top, but then not quite dark enough down here. Because you want it to be, you know, darker. Let's see, we'll let that dry for a second and then we can come back and bump again. All right, that's a good start to the flowers. So let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. Let's grab a little bit smaller size brush. It's like a number 4 and dry it off. And now let's take some of that like limey, slimy green with some dark green, just because that kind of makes a good color. And we're gonna throw some streaks in through our stems. It's kind of where we had the stems already. It doesn't look good for them to be so flat, so we're kind of making them a little less flat, hopefully. And then while we have the light shades on our brush, let's go ahead and add a little bit of light through all of our leaves. So like just one side of the leaves, I would kind of add just a little, quick little bit of light. It'll kind of help them be less flat. Which don't worry, if you're throwing on the light and it gets a little thick, we can come back and trim it up. And then while you still have the number 4 and the slimy limey green, you can even grab a little bit of like that seafoam or light blue with the light greens, and let's throw a few of those light streaks where we had the threads. So the threads of your jar. Because of how the light hits it, you're gonna have some light and dark. And then, while you have that same color, let's add a little streak to our jar too. Which when you're streaking, don't worry if it gets, hey, out of control, you can always slim it up. But I think our jar's pretty good, so I might go ahead and write on it. And you can write whatever. I'm gonna write ball, like the old-timey ball jars. So I'm probably gonna keep the lighter shades on there for right now. So the slimy limey green with a little bit of like seafoam. And just load your brush with a lot of paint, and you can even grab a number 1 if you want to. This is a number 4 since it's a big jar. And a lot of the old jars like had different writing styles, so don't, you know, doesn't have to be exactly. I like the ones though that have the little loop and had the little line that went underneath. And then once you get it on there with some light, because we can always come back and thicken that up too, I would just grab a little bit of the dark green with maybe even a little bit of black. And we're gonna add just some darks, which mine's looking pretty dark, so I'm gonna grab even more dark green so it doesn't get too dark. And you're just kind of going over everything that you did before. And we can come back and touch it up. I would even add like a dark streak glare right there. And you could even add a few little dark streaks in between your little stems. All right, so that's looking pretty good. We'll let it dry for a second. So wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. All right, they're looking pretty good, but let's add just a little bit more light. So let's add a little bit more light through the flowers and the jar. So let's grab a big brush again. So like a number 8 and dry it off and grab some really light pink with even a little bit of white. And we're gonna add a few more light bumps. So whenever you're bumping, just make sure you have a bunch of paint on your brush. And we'll just add just a few of those to all of them. And then we'll kind of just do just like we did before. But we're just not gonna add quite as many. So we're adding a few more bumps. So now I'm taking like the lighter pinks. I'm just not adding quite as much, quite as many. Because you still wanna see all those other colors poking through too. That's what makes it look good. And then we'll grab some of the 2 pinks together. Kind of bump those through the middle. And then we'll grab the dark pink again. And we'll just kind of bump the dark pink back towards the edges. And you could even grab a little bit of dark purple with it too. We're just gonna do not quite as many as we did before, but this is where you definitely wanna make sure you've bumped over all your edges just to get it good, and that's gonna be what makes it look like a hydrangea too. All right, so we got it bumped over the edges, so let's wipe that one off, chunk it in the water, and grab a little bit smaller brush. It's like a number 4. And let's grab a little bit more of that sea foam, maybe light blue. We're gonna add a few really light glares. Just because the key to anything is lights and darks, and I just thought it was too dark. So we needed a few more lights going on. Might have got too light there. I might blend that one a little, so I chunked that one in the water. Grab a bigger brush. And some darker greens. And just in a few places on my jar. Can thin down that glare and thicken up anywhere. So I might throw a little bit of greens kind of near my little word. All right, we'll see how that dries. But I think it's looking pretty good. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. Let's go ahead and sign it. So we'll just grab a teeny tiny brush, so like a number 1, and dry it off and use whatever color. And now we'll go ahead and sign this puppy. All right, and now we have hydrangeas. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. We're on Cox Street in Asheboro. And be sure to check out our website, www.thepreppypossum.com.